Negotiation. It can feel like this high-stakes game where some people just magically know all the rules. But what if you had the playbook? Well, that's exactly what we're building today. We're going to break down all the key terms and strategies into a simple step-by-step guide so you can walk in with confidence and get a better deal.
Oh man, we have all been there, right? That sinking feeling in your stomach, you're replaying the whole conversation thinking, ugh, I should have said this, or why didn't I ask for that? Well, that feeling, it ends today. We are going to give you a clear roadmap so you can feel proud of the deals you make.
All right, let's get into it. The real secret to a great negotiation, it doesn't actually happen at the table. Nope, it happens way before you even pick up the phone. This is the prep phase, and trust me, the foundation you build right here is everything.
Look, a good negotiation never ever starts with just talking. It starts with a plan. Your strategy is your map. It's not just about what you want, that's your goal. It's about how you're going to get there. What's your first move? Your second? What if they say no? Winging it is just a surefire way to leave money and opportunity on the table. Okay, now, if you only remember one thing from this entire explainer, please make it this one. BATNA, your best alternative to a negotiated agreement. This is your superpower. Seriously, it's where all your confidence comes from. It's your plan B. It's what you're going to do if you have to walk away. Knowing your BATNA gives you the power to say no to a bad deal. So how do you actually find this thing? Well, it's a pretty simple 3-step process. First, you just brainstorm all your other options. Let's say you're negotiating a new job offer. Your alternatives could be another offer you have, or maybe just staying in your current role. Second, you evaluate each one. And I mean really evaluate it. It's not just about the money. Think about the commute, the benefits, your happiness. Then third, you pick the single best one. That is your BATNA. That's your walkaway point. Okay, so you've done your prep. You know your BATNA inside and out. Now it's game time. The first few moments of a negotiation are absolutely critical. They set the tone, the expectations, and pretty much the entire vibe for everything that's about to happen. I want you to think of a negotiation like an iceberg. What you hear someone say, their position, that's just the tip. It's the demand, like, I want a salary of $90,000. But the real action, the real opportunity, is below the surface. That's the interest, the why behind the what. Maybe it's, I need to cover higher rent and pay off my student loans. Smart negotiators stop arguing about the tip of the iceberg and start exploring the huge foundation of interest underneath. That's where you find the creative solutions.
Framing is all about how you present the situation. Are you framing this as a battle, me versus you? Or are you framing it as a puzzle that we have to solve together? Just by saying something like, hey, I'm really excited to figure out a way this can work for both of us, you frame the whole thing as a collaboration, and that makes people want to work with you. And now for one of the most powerful psychological tools out there, the anchor. The very first number that gets mentioned in a negotiation has this massive magnetic pull. It acts like a real anchor, dragging the entire conversation towards it. Every single offer and counteroffer that follows is going to be influenced by that initial number. For example, let's say you're the first to name a salary, and you strategically anchor the conversation at $95,000. Bam, you've just reset the entire playing field. Suddenly, an eventual agreement at $85,000 feels like a pretty reasonable compromise for them. But imagine if you let them anchor first at $75,000. Now getting to $85,000 feels like a huge win for you, but a big loss for them. See the difference?
All right, the opening moves are done. The anchor is dropped. Now we get into the heart of it all, the back and forth, the give and take. This is the dance of negotiation, where you share information, create value, and start moving towards a deal. This quote perfectly sums up our next idea: rapport. Look, negotiation isn't some transaction between two computers. It's a conversation between two human beings. When you build a little trust, a little connection, the other person is just so much more willing to be open with you and find a solution that actually works for everyone. You know what your most powerful tool is during this phase? It's not making statements. It's asking questions. Smart, open-ended questions like, can you tell me what success looks like for this role in the first 6 months? Or, what are the biggest challenges the team is dealing with right now? Questions like these help you uncover the real interests, and that information is pure gold. So this is the actual dance, the exchange. It's where you give a little to get a little. And the key word here is reciprocal. You don't just give things away for free, you trade them. The rule is always, if I do this for you, then you do that for me. It's a two-way street. So what gives you power during this dance? It's called leverage. And it's really important to remember that it's not a one-way street. Just look at this table. As the job candidate, your strong BATNA is huge leverage. But hey, the employer has leverage too. Maybe they're under a ton of pressure to fill this role quickly. Understanding this balance of power is the key to navigating the exchange.
And hey, while you're asking all those smart questions, you need to be listening with your eyes too. So much of what people are thinking is unspoken. Are they leaning in when you talk about a certain topic? Do their arms cross the second you mention a number? Reading the room can give you these huge clues about what they really care about.
So what happens when the dance stops? When the music grinds to a halt and you feel like you've just slammed into a brick wall? It happens all the time, but it's definitely not the end of the road. Let's talk about how to get things moving again.
An impasse. It's a deadlock. You've hit that point where it feels like there is just no way forward. But an impasse doesn't have to be a failure. A lot of the time, it's just a signal that you need to switch up your approach. Here are 3 really simple ways to break through. First, you could offer a small compromise on something minor just to get the conversation flowing again. Second, try reframing the whole issue. If you're stuck on salary, maybe pivot and talk about the performance bonus instead. And third, for really big disagreements, you can even bring in a neutral third party, a mediator, to help you both find some common ground.
You did it. You navigated the exchange, you broke through the impasse, and an agreement is finally in sight. This is the end game. It's time to find that landing zone and bring this thing home.
This brings us to our last big term, ZOPA, the zone of possible agreement. Okay, think of it this way. You have your absolute bottom line, right? And they have their absolute maximum. The ZOPA is that sweet spot, the space that exists between those 2 points. If there's no overlap, well, then there's just no deal to be made. Simple as that. This chart makes it super clear. On the left, you've got the candidate's minimum acceptable salary, their walkaway point. On the right, the employer's max. See that overlapping space right in the middle? Yep, that's it. That's the ZOPA. And your entire goal as a negotiator is to land the final number as high up in that zone as you possibly can. And finally, as you're closing in on that final number, just think about the kind of outcome you're trying to create. A zero-sum approach means you see it as a fixed pie. For you to get a bigger slice, they have to get a smaller one. But honestly, the best negotiators, they always aim for a win-win. They look for ways to make the whole pie bigger for everyone, creating value and building a relationship for the long term. So there you have it. From strategy and BATNA to anchoring and ZOPA, you now have the core playbook for any negotiation. And remember, this stuff isn't just for a big salary discussion. You can use it when you're buying a car, planning a vacation with friends, or just managing a project at work. So the only question left is, what are you going to negotiate next?